here I am in Buenos Aires, in the Puerto Madero area of the city, which was a failed attempt to create new docks here, but instead it's turned into a rather nice pedestrian area, as you'll see. Today I had the pleasure of participating in a conference organized by Dr. Carlos Vernigue, a psychiatrist who works in and with early intervention. And it was interesting that when I described the routines-based model to the 100 or so participants in this conference, that the topic that engendered the most interest was the primary service provider. And I think perhaps because in the model that actually is the hardest component to implement. Of course, it's also the most challenging one to implement for people who are used to traditional ways of doing things. Sorry about moving this camera around so much. I do want to make the point that I had to make a number of times today, that for implementation of novel practices to work, one really has to have the marriage of policy and of training. Now, when I say policy, I don't necessarily mean public policies, although that can help, as we know, in the United States, but perhaps it's just directives from management. Following the adage that you can't expect people to do things if you don't tell them to do it. People will not necessarily gravitate towards the new. No, they will more likely gravitate towards the familiar. The other part is that we know that if you set good policies but don't accompany those policies with training, the policies won't get put into effect. We've seen that with some states that put into place some very good policies for early intervention services, but didn't have the resources or the foresight to provide training at the same time, and those practices really never took off until the state finally reorganized itself and did something about that. So, for implementation of the routines-based model or other innovations in early intervention, people really need to think about those two things: policy and training. Okay, that's all for now. Bye-bye.